You may already be aware that after spending 14 days on the run, following his escape from Chester County Prison, in Pennsylvania state of the United States of America, where he was serving a life sentence without parole, over his murder conviction, Danelo Cavalcante was arrested in the morning of September 13, 2023, bringing to an end a search that had turned quite intense and dramatic. But perhaps you might be wondering, what really led to his capture, where he messed, the strategies that the police employed to nab him, and if there was anything that he could have done to elude the police for one more day. To answer all these questions, we have brought to you this video, in which you'll see how, when and where the tables turned on Cavalcante for good, leading to his capture. So before we proceed, it's good to let you know that there are 3 important things that led to Cavalcante's capture, and they are as follows. First thing is Danelo's decision to keep off people's houses and vehicles, second thing is the police thermal imaging technology, and third is the K9 police dogs. For the 13 days that Danelo Cavalcante had been eluding the police, during his search, those 3 things had not aligned themselves correctly, and when they finally did, on the night waking to September 13th, his fate became sealed. So let's look at how each contributed to his capture. Number 1. Danelo's decision to avoid abandoned buildings, people's homes and vehicles. After being involved in a confrontation with a Chester County homeowner, as he successfully tried to steal a rifle, on September 12th, the whole neighborhood in the area where he was spotted was put on high alert, to be on the lookout of any suspicious individual, and report to the police, should he be spotted anywhere. This, coupled with warnings from the police, that homeowners should lock their houses, their cars, barns and anything that could be used by the fugitive for shelter, scared Cavalcante, to the point that he couldn't dare try to sneak into anyone's home, or break into any building for shelter when darkness came. Therefore, when the sun went down, he resorted to taking shelter in the woods, and went hiding beneath logs, with hopes that perhaps the police wouldn't get to him if he hid there. However, he was wrong, and this was the beginning of his end, because this is where the second important thing came in. So number 2, police officers' thermal imaging technology. When the El Paso Border Patrol tactical team was called in to help in the search for the fugitive, they came with Black Hawk helicopters that had been fitted with thermal imaging technology, and darkness couldn't stop them from conducting the search. But before we proceed, again let me take a moment to let you know how thermal imaging works. A thermal imager is a non-contact device that detects infrared energy, or rather radiation waves that we call heat, and converts the waves into a visual image that can be interpreted by humans, in situations where regular cameras can't produce images. Thermal images make pictures from heat, not visible light, and they capture infrared radiation and waves, and use the data to create images through digital or analog video outputs. A FLIR thermal camera, like the one that was used in the Cavalcante search, can detect tiny differences in heat, as small as 0.01 degrees Celsius, and display them as shades of gray, or with different color palettes, thereby creating an image with utmost precision, for one to interpret the kind of object that has been detected. Therefore, as Cavalcante was hiding in the woods, the helicopter overhead was scanning the woods with thermal images, and at midnight on September 13th, a heat signal was captured. After closer focus on the signal, it was established that the image that it was creating was of a human being, but just as the police were getting to the exact site from where the signal had been spotted, a storm and lightning forced the helicopter to vacate the area. This prompted the tactical team to enclose the area, secure it, and stay there overnight, so as to make sure that the target doesn't elude them once again. When dawn came, the tactical team had everything under control, and upon the helicopters resuming air patrols, with thermal imaging in action, the heat signal was easily recaptured before daybreak, setting in motion the final tracing of the fugitive. And that is the point where the third contributor to Cavalcante's capture comes in, that is the K9 police dogs. Since the El Paso Border Patrol tactical team had come with their own K9 police dogs for the search, the dogs went into action when the heat signal started showing that the target was moving. They were released to sniff him out, and started tracing his scent, as he tried to crawl away from the point where he had spent the night. The K9s easily caught up with him, and subdued him, when he tried to crawl his way out of the logs, and since the tactical team members were not far away, he was captured before harming anyone, or anything, with the rifle that he had stolen. So, that's how Danelo Cavalcante's inability to find a house, a building, an enclosed cave or vehicle, where he could have hidden overnight, led to his detection by the Black Hawk helicopter's thermal images, leading to his ambush by the K9 sniffers, which easily traced him and captured him upon picking up his scent. Had he hidden in a building, vehicle, hollow solid place, or glass box that night, maybe he would have not been detected at night, and captured the following morning, since thermal cameras cannot see through walls, metals and glass. At least not like in the movies. This is because walls are generally thick enough and insulated enough to block infrared radiation from escaping, and therefore the thermal images wouldn't have detected his body heat had he hidden inside a building. Thermal images can only go as far as detecting what is within a wall, and not what is beyond that wall. Glass, on the other hand, reflects infrared radiation, and had Cavalcante hidden inside a glass box, the helicopters wouldn't have picked any thermal signal of him. Same case is for a vehicle with closed windows, since they are made of glass, and the metallic part of the vehicle doesn't permit detection of infrared radiation waves. Anyway, I bet everyone agrees that the capture of Danelo Cavalcante brought great reprieve to Chester County, since residents were living in fear, to the point where they had to close schools when it was confirmed that he was armed with a rifle. The big fear being that he would have probably turned into a massive shooter and targeted a school or any other populated place, and therefore the authorities had to take necessary measures to avoid such an unfortunate scenario. And by the way, the blood that was visible on his face at the point of his capture was as a result of a dog scratch on his head following his scuffle with the K9s in the woods when he was being subdued. What lessons did you learn from this dramatic escape, search and capture? Leave your thoughts on this below, and don't forget to subscribe before leaving.